Hello everyone, welcome to the Master Planner webinar using Planbook Plus. My name is Tabitha and I'm here with my colleague Ruth.
Hello everyone.
And we are both members of the Planbook Plus training team. Today we are going to take about 30 minutes, including a short question and answer session at the end of the presentation. Our goal today is to go over the power of Planbook Plus and how Planbook Plus can help you with your planning needs by using our class and student management, online lessons, and gradebook. Everyone has been placed in listeners mode at the beginning of the webinar. This will help to eliminate any background noise. Please feel free to use the chat feature at any time during the presentation to ask questions. Now let's go over the agenda for today's webinar. What is Planbook Plus? We will then jump into Planbook Plus and show you how to set up classes and student rosters so your students can access online lessons. We will then demonstrate how to add online lessons to your lesson plans, as well as how to share them with students. We will then go over the student side of Planbook Plus. Then we will connect all of these features together and look at the gradebook. At the end of the presentation, we will have a short question and answer session. Let's start by going over what is Planbook Plus. Planbook Plus isn't your ordinary lesson planning tool. It is a powerful, full-featured online lesson planner that allows you to take control of your lesson planning experience while amplifying your classroom experience. Everyone plans a little differently. Are you a long-range planner? Our timeline is a tremendous tool to allow for big-picture, longitudinal planning across a school year. With this tool, you can move out of your week-to-week concepts and plan out how you want your year to flow. Do you find structure and organization in week-to-week or even day-to-day planning? To easily update or modify your year as it goes on, consider using the calendar view or the weekly planner. The weekly planner also lets you view your upcoming lessons at one easy glance. Planbook Plus is the most powerful teacher planner on the market. However, we are so much more than just a plan book. Our fully integrated gradebook and student sharing accounts allow teachers to manage and communicate their classroom activities as never before. With thousands of online lessons, teachers can now limitlessly expand their classroom borders to augment and differentiate instruction. Planbook Plus's integrated online lessons and gradebook allow teachers to plan, deliver, and grade lessons all in one comprehensive system, all for the cost of less than one textbook. Now let's move on to the demonstration portion of today's webinar. I'm going to pass it over to Ruth, who will start by going over how to set up your classes and student rosters.
The first thing you want to do to take advantage of the Master Planner features is to set up classes and rosters. Setting up classes and rosters will allow you to provide your students with logins to view your lesson plans, to take online lessons, and you'll also be able to use the built-in gradebook to track and monitor student progress. To set up classes and students, first go to the My Classes tab found in the top navigation. This will take you to the Class and Student Management page. You will see two tabs on this page, one for classes and one for students. Depending on whether you're an elementary teacher who teaches the same students in more than one class, or if you're a secondary teacher who teaches the same classes with multiple students, you'll want to set up your plan books accordingly. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over the best way for you to set up your classes if you teach multiple classes to the same group of students, or if you're an elementary teacher. So for an elementary teacher, the first thing you're going to want to do is to add all of your students into Planbook Plus. To add a student, you're going to navigate to the Students tab from your Class and Student Management page. Then you're going to click on Add a New Student. You'll be prompted with a pop-up to input the information of their first name, last name, and a username and password. And then you'll click Save. And you'll continue to do this until all of your students have been entered into the system. Now that we've added our students to Planbook Plus, let's create classes and enroll them in those classes. So now you're going to navigate to your Classes tab in the Class and Student Management page. You're going to click on Add a New Class, and when you click on Add a New Class, you're going to input a name for that class. We suggest something similar to the name of your plan book, and then select the plan book for that class. And then you'll click Save. One thing that you're going to want to remember is that even though you have the same group of students, you are going to want to create a class for each of your courses and each of your plan books. Because if you are going to utilize our online lessons, or you're going to utilize the online gradebook for integration, then you're going to want your students to be separated by course and your lessons and grades by course. Now, once you have your classes created in the system, then you can add your students to the class, actually right here from the Classes tab. So from the Classes tab, you're going to select that class and then select to add students. You could choose to add an existing student. So now you can click Add Existing Student for that class, and then what you'll see is the search page. From the student search page, what you're going to do is filter that. So you could choose to type in a student's name to search for them. If you know they're in an existing class that you already have created, you could search by that as well. And you can also filter by school year. So year over year, you don't have to worry about seeing those students again. So you're just going to find the student that you'd like to add, check the box next to their name or multiple names, and then click the Add Students button. That will load those students into that class. If you've preloaded, let's say, your math class, you could use that math roster as your starting point and add everybody from math into your English, social studies, and science. So that's how you're going to set up your classes and students as an elementary teacher. Now you could do the same thing if you were a secondary teacher, although you have a lot more students to preload into the system. So we suggest actually swapping and doing the reverse of what I just did. So if you're a secondary teacher, what you're going to do is start on the Classes tab, and you're going to create a class, again by clicking Add New Class, inputting the name and selecting your plan book, and clicking Save. Now once you have your classes created in the system, then you can add your students to the class, actually right here from the Classes tab. So you'll click on Add New Student to this class. You'll input the student's name, username, password, and then you'll click Save. Now, if you already have students that have been loaded into Planbook Plus, you could also choose to add an existing student. Now we've loaded up our classes and our students both ways, as if we were an elementary teacher and also a secondary teacher. And now for your students to take advantage of this student access that we've created, what you're going to see on both the student and the classes tabs is a blue bar with a hyperlink in it. That is your unique teacher code link that you can provide to your parents and your students for them to get access to your lesson plans online based on what you've shared with them. We're going to talk about this link a little bit later, but I just wanted to point it out to you now because when your students log in, they'll have to log in with your unique teacher code. That just about wraps up adding students and classes to the system. Now remember, you're going to want to set up these classes ahead of time so that way you can utilize the features of our online gradebook, our online lessons, and our student access. And now I'm going to pass it over to Tabitha, who's going to talk to you more about those online lessons.
Online lessons are available for Master Planner subscribers. They can help bridge the gap between home and school. To add an online lesson as a resource to your lesson plans, find the day or lesson plan you want to add the resource to and click the drop-down arrow. Then click Edit Lesson. You can also click on the lesson name. This is going to bring you to the details of the lesson plans. This can be accessed from the timeline by clicking the Details button next to the lesson name, or on the weekly planner by clicking on the lesson name. You will see 4 tabs up top. Click on the Resources tab. This tab is going to allow you to add online lessons to your lesson plan. Click the Add Resources button and then click New Online Lesson. A pop-up window will display. By using the optional search criteria, you can narrow down your search to a specific grade level, subject area, and topic area to find specific lessons. I am going to search for grade 9 through 12 and quadratic. You can see multiple lessons have filtered. Currently, Planbook Plus offers lessons in all major subject areas. We have Geometry, Algebra 1 and 2, Living Environment and Chemistry, Global History 1 and 2, U.S. History, Government, and Economics. For English, we have short text, novels, parts of speech and grammar, and for the younger grades, we have grade 1 through 8 math and ELA, response to intervention lessons. The next step is to decide when you want to share the lesson with your students by using the Student Sharing drop-down arrow. If Not Shared is picked, the student will not see this resource. If Shared Immediately is picked, students will see the resource as soon as you add it to your lesson plans, but you will have the option to hide it from them on the calendar view. If Shared Manually is picked, students will not see this resource until you decide to share it. The sharing option can be enabled on the calendar view. If Share on Date is picked, this resource will become available and continue to be available on the lesson date. For example, if today were Tuesday and I added this to my Friday lesson plans, this online lesson would not be available for students until Friday. Now that we have set our filter and sharing options, we are now ready to add an online lesson. To preview the lesson, simply click on the lesson name. This will give you a preview of the lesson exactly how your students will see it. Each lesson is structured in a template format. All of our lessons contain introductions, which will go over what the student is going to learn in the lesson. For high school lessons, you will see a vocabulary section, which will go over important vocabulary words and phrases that are introduced within the lesson. Jumpstart or Prior Knowledge will challenge the student before a lesson to recall any prior knowledge about the information in the upcoming lessons. Visual models or learning components contain the presentation of new information and the central purpose of the lesson. The visual model contains various delivery methods, modeling of new information, and several applicable examples. The method of presentation is determined based on the most effective delivery per topic. Often material is conveyed in multiple modalities to appeal to different learning perspectives and support differentiated instruction. The Skill Builder element is designed to refresh students about recently learned information that will be needed to help them answer questions, solve problems, and fully comprehend the new information they are being exposed to. Guided practice is designed to give students the opportunity to answer questions or solve problems based on what they've just learned. Once they answer, they are provided with feedback on their answer, which is designed to help them hone their skill, focus on more common mistakes, and reinforce their correct approaches. Once the students complete their guided practice questions, they are given questions to be completed on their own. The purpose of independent practice is for students to practice the topic taught in the previous steps and for teachers to assess if learning has occurred. The test prep element was implemented to reinforce critical thinking. It is composed of a few applicable questions that urge the student to take the information they've learned a step further, whether it be to apply that information to a real-world scenario, solve multi-step problems, or relate the new concept to previously learned information. The reflection is the closure for each lesson. A question is posed to students about what they have learned in this particular lesson. This element is the final evaluation of what the student absorbed from the lesson. Once you have found a lesson you want to give to your student, check the box or boxes next to the lesson names and click the Add button. This will now add the lesson to your resources list. If you have multiple lessons, you can move them around by dragging and dropping them to a new location. Notice the lesson name is clickable, allowing you to view the lesson. The sharing options can be edited on this page by clicking on the pencil icon. Now that we have added a lesson, let's return to the calendar view. You can now see your lessons on the calendar view under the Resources section. By using the filter drop-down, you can choose just to show your online lessons. To manage the sharing options for these lessons, you can use the icons to decide if you want to release the lesson to students right from your calendar view by simply clicking on the checkbox next to the sharing icon. It is important to know if you choose Never Share on an online lesson, you will not see an icon next to that lesson. You will have to go back into the Planbook item edit page and change the sharing options. If you choose to share the lesson on a certain date, you will notice your icon is not clickable. This just means you cannot release the lesson to your students earlier than the date you have attached a lesson to. This can be modified by visiting the Planbook item edit page. Now that we have added a few online lessons, I'm going to turn it over to Ruth, and she will go over the student end of Planbook Plus.
Now let's talk about student access. We talked earlier about adding our classes and students and our unique teacher URL that we have provided you with. So what you're going to do is give that link to your parents and teachers, and then we're going to show you what it's going to look like in Planbook Plus when your students get access. So I've pasted that hyperlink into the URL, and you can see here that we're on our login screen. There's a teacher code that's already filled in because you've used your unique teacher URL. Then the students will be provided with their username and password, and they're going to log in to get access to your Planbook lessons that you have shared with them. Once logged in, you'll see that the students are taken directly to their calendar, and the calendar is set up based on what you have shared with them. So anything that you have shared automatically or always shared with them, they will always see that information on their calendar. If you have shared it manually and you have released it to them, it'll appear on their calendar when you check that box. Or if you have selected Share on Date, then you will notice that on a student's calendar, that will appear on the date of your Planbook item. From the student's calendar, they can also select to view the calendar for the different courses that they may be enrolled in. Students can see what they have for homework, they can see what their lesson plan is for the next day, they could prepare for what they're going to be learning about the following day, and they can also get access to all of your resources that you've loaded into your lessons. So if you'd like them to view a video prior to attending class, or if there's a homework worksheet that you've attached, if they've forgotten in their classroom, they could log on to their Planbook and actually get that from Planbook Plus. So from the calendar, if we have an online lesson assigned, then a student can click on that lesson and actually go through and take the lesson. So I'll click on one lesson for you to see what it looks like. And then they go through the lesson, the introduction, the visual model, the learning components, the guided practice, and the independent practice. They could submit that assignment to you to get credit for that assignment. Students also have access to their assignments in their Assignments tab. So when you click on the Assignments tab, you can sort your assignments by your class, and then you can also sort it by what the status of that assignment is. If it's in progress, they've started it already. It might be not started. It might be completed. And if a lesson is auto-graded, then a grade will automatically appear on their assignment search page and let them know how they're doing on that topic. That wraps up our student access part of the presentation, so I'm going to pass it over to Tabitha, who's going to talk about our integrated gradebook.
Gradebook can be accessed by clicking on the Gradebook button on the black menu bar. This will bring you to the Gradebook page within Planbook Plus. Here is where you will select the Planbook and corresponding class in which you would like to view. Once a Planbook and class is selected, your gradebook will populate with the list of students assigned to that class, student averages, and the assignments you have given them. The colors indicate the current status of a lesson. Blue lessons are those that have not been assigned to students online, but from a Planbook manually. The name of your lesson can be added to your gradebook by visiting the calendar page. First, you will find the lesson plan you want to add, then click the drop-down arrow. You will then select Add to Gradebook. Once the lesson plan has been added, you can begin grading by clicking in the blue box underneath the assignment and manually typing in the grade for your student and clicking Enter. You will be able to keep track of your grades easily. In order to check the progress of an online lesson, whether it's in progress, submitted, sent back, or graded lessons, simply click on a color box for the desired student and lesson. This will bring you to the details of the lesson, allowing you to grade the student's work and leave student comments. Once you are on this page, you are able to check the progress and work of other students that have begun the lesson by using the Student drop-down menu. The teacher has the option to filter through student work multiple ways. View ungradable content will display extended response questions that have not been auto-graded. These items may need your attention. View gradable content will display all multiple choice questions under the independent practice section. These items have been auto-graded for you. View all content will display all the content of the lesson, including prior knowledge, vocabulary, learning components, and so on. If a question is highlighted in green, this indicates the student has successfully answered the question correct. If the question is highlighted in red, this indicates the student did not answer the question correctly. The check mark will indicate the answer the student has chosen. If you choose to override what the computer has marked as correct or incorrect for a specific multiple choice question, you have the ability to do so by using the radio buttons Incorrect or Correct. Extended response questions will appear as ungraded content because it will need teacher attention. The teacher has the ability to mark extended response questions as incorrect, correct, or you can choose to give the student partial credit for the question. Once you have made all the necessary changes, you can scroll to the top of the screen and click the Save button. To leave a student feedback, simply expand the feedback section by clicking on the double arrows next to Feedback. Teachers will have the ability to add new feedback to their students in a rich text box. Math teachers, by clicking on the equation editor, you will be allowed to add math symbols as a part of your feedback. Once you are done, click the Save button. To override a grade, simply click the Override Grade button. A pop-up window will display, allowing you to manually override a grade, giving the student a different grade other than the one the computer has generated. Once you have typed in the desired grade, click the Save button. This will override the student's grade in your gradebook and adjust their average accordingly. To reassign a lesson, click the Reassign button. This will assign the student the lesson again, adding it to his or her list of in-progress lessons. The Gradebook is the last part of the Master Planner subscription that we're going to talk about today. I hope everyone has had the chance to get in and play around with Master Planner. If you haven't, hopefully now you feel more comfortable playing around and what it has to offer. We are going to stick around for some questions. If anyone has any, please feel free to chat those in the chat box. I'm going to put up our support information. If you have any questions while you're planning, you can reach out to our wonderful support team via email, chat, or use our support portal. If you would like additional resources to help you while you are planning, you can visit our YouTube channel. We would like to thank everyone for attending, and we hope you enjoy your experience with Planbook Plus.